All right, let's get right into it. We're diving into one of history's most fascinating and, frankly, terrifying rivalries. This is the story of an emperor and a prince, a bond forged in childhood that would shatter into a legend of betrayal and bloodshed. So, to give you an idea of who we're dealing with, one source describes a man of pure evil, a tyrant who would impale thousands of his enemies and then, just calmly set up a table amidst their dying screams to dine and drink wine. And here's where the story gets really wild. This isn't just about some distant evil tyrant. This is about a relationship. How on earth could two boys who grew up together end up as such bitter, mortal enemies? To really understand the hate, we have to go back and understand the friendship. See, this whole thing didn't start on a battlefield. It started inside the walls of an Ottoman palace. The man at the center of all this had a lot of names, and each one tells you a little something about his reputation. To the Hungarians, he was Tepesh, the executioner. To his own people, Dracula, which means son of the devil. But to the Ottomans, he was known for his signature move, Kazikli Voivoda, the Impaler prince. Now, you have to get this picture in your head. As young boys, Vlad and the future Sultan were not enemies. They were political hostages, yeah, but they were treated like princes. They had the same teachers, they trained together, they basically grew up as friends. Some sources even say they swore an oath to become blood brothers, a sacred vow of loyalty. And this just lays it all out, doesn't it? I mean, look at this transformation. From a shared education at a bond of brotherhood to a clash of emperor versus prince, conquest versus atrocity. They went from blood brothers to mortal enemies. So what was the breaking point? How does a friendship like that just shatter so completely and so violently? Well, for a little while, it actually seemed like things might be okay. After Fatih took Constantinople and Vlad was back on his throne, he sent letters, paid his taxes. He played the part of a loyal vassal. But then, after 1459, something just snapped. And then it all started to fall apart, one step at a time. First, Vlad just stopped paying the tax. Then he went behind Fatih's back and made an alliance with Hungary. When Fatih sent envoys to ask what was going on, Vlad took offense that they wouldn't remove their turbans in his presence. His response? He had their turbans nailed to their skulls and then had them impaled. The absolute final straw, he captured a top Ottoman general, Hamza Bey, and impaled him on a stake taller than anyone else's, like some kind of grotesque honor. Okay, so for Atesh, that was it. This wasn't about taxes or politics anymore. This was a deep personal betrayal. The grief, the fury, it was immense. He decided he was going to march on Wallachia himself. And he did not go lightly. In 1462, Fatih marched on this small province with an absolutely overwhelming force. We're talking 150,000 of his soldiers against Vlad's tiny army of maybe 30,000. For Vlad, trying to fight that head-on would have been suicide. So, since Vlad knew he couldn't win a fair fight, he decided not to fight fair at all. He used pure terror as his strategy. He poisoned wells, burned his own villages so the Ottomans couldn't get supplies, and he even did what we'd probably call biological warfare today. He sent people sick with the plague and leprosy into the Ottoman camps to spread disease. But his boldest move, his final, desperate gamble, was something else entirely. He led a raid, at night, straight into the heart of the Sultan's camp. The goal wasn't to win the battle. The goal was to find and kill one man, his childhood friend, Fatih. Now, the assassination failed. Vlad's forces were pushed back. But the chaos and the carnage of just that one night was unbelievable. The Ottomans lost something like 15,000 men before the sun came up. After that failed attack, Vlad just disappeared. And when Fatih and his army finally reached the Wallachian capital, Targovishte, they were met with a sight that was so horrifying it would be burned into their minds forever. The city was a ghost town, completely abandoned. The castle gates were just open. No army, no resistance. It was just an eerie, dead silence. And then, just outside the city walls, they saw Vlad's final message. So, that number, 20,000, let's be crystal clear. This was not the number of soldiers. This was the number of impaled bodies, men, women, and children, stretching for 5 kilometers. Vlad had created his horrifying masterpiece, a literal forest of the impaled. And here's what really tells you how profound this act of terror was. This wasn't just killing. This was psychological warfare so intense that it broke even the most veteran, battle-hardened soldiers. These guys had seen everything, but they had never, ever seen anything like this. So Vlad gets away after this confrontation, but his reign is effectively over. Fatih puts Vlad's brother, the loyal brother, Radu, on the throne. But the story of the Impaler wasn't quite finished. Vlad escapes to Hungary, where they promptly throw him in prison for 12 years. But when another war breaks out, his allies decide to unleash their monster one last time. Fatih, though, he's had enough. He sends his top guy, a legendary warrior named Mihaloglu Ali Bey, with one job: end this for good. And this time, there was no escape. In what has to be the most grimly fitting end imaginable, the severed head of the Impaler prince was sent to Istanbul, the capital of the empire he hated so much, where it was put on display for all to see, on a stake. It just leaves you with this haunting question, right? It really makes you think about that terrifyingly thin line between a brother and a monster, and how easily one can become the other.